see you. Welcome to Pop Alternative, man.
Hey, nice to see you. Thank you.
It's so crazy because I've been following this show like since the announcement came out, just waiting and waiting, and people are finally going to be able to see it. Like, it's so crazy. The journey from it being like in a script and kind of transforming onto the screen always interests me. So from a director perspective, what was that like for you, kind of seeing these characters, seeing these monsters, and then actually kind of living it in a way and putting it on the big screen, so to speak?
It was so much fun. I mean, I'm a longtime Godzilla fan, so they called and said, "Do you want to do a Godzilla project?" And the answer is yes. Before they even finished the sentence. And then I was so impressed by the complexity of the story. It's this beautiful multi-generational family drama that is also a mystery puzzle box. It has so many different layers to it. And we were able to tell the story of what it was like to be on the sort of ground level during these monster attacks. So rather than being up in the sky with Kong fighting Godzilla, we were down on the ground with a human-centric point of view. And it was really, about how does that affect your life? What is that trauma like? How do you pick yourself up when all of a sudden you now live in a world where a monster could attack any day now? And we were, conceiving of the show post-pandemic, as the pandemic was ending. I think we were all sort of trying to figure out what's the new world we're living in. How are we going to adjust to this? And that was very much the sort of the mood there as we were thinking about the show. But as a director, there's things you fall in love with in the script, and then you're just working tirelessly to try to bring those to life the best you can. And finding a cast as amazing as this, people who could bring all of these parts to life is always the most nerve-wracking thing, because you're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to cast that person who has to be such a unicorn? And then we found them, every single one, and so that's part of the process, but it's definitely the fun of it too.
I also feel like it's interesting because you look at projects you worked on in the past, projects like this one, and then projects that you are working on. They're all these big kind of universes, but they're all very kind of immersive from an audience aspect of it. Are you conscious of the audience like watching a show like Monarch Legacy of Monsters while you're making it, or does that happen after you wrap, or does it happen while you're making it?
Well, I think it is part of it. I definitely, you're always aware of what you're making will be viewed by lots of people, and you hope that they enjoy it. But it is really about the human point of view, about the emotional connection that I have, what draws me in, because that will then hopefully, I hope, draw you in as well. It's about telling stories with actors that feel real, that feel authentic, that have stakes. And I love dramas, and what makes a good drama dramatic is all the pressures that you put on characters to try to pull them apart, right? And what's better than a giant lizard to do that too, right? And all of these
100%.
Monsters, right? And so it makes that drama so much more exciting. So I think about that as I make it, absolutely, 100%.
But also, talking to Chris and Matt yesterday as well, I feel like that was always the plan with a show like this, Matt, where it wasn't just kind of the big monster fights. Because my favorite thing about the show, like especially in the flashbacks, because I feel like that's where a lot of it kind of happens, is these unbelievable character arcs and developments. Like, that's one of my favorite things about this show.
That's absolutely the DNA of the show. And it was clear from the pilot script when I read it, and I was so charmed by the poetry of it, is that it wasn't a dramatic scene, stop for a giant spectacle, dramatic scene, it wove together, and the monsters were affecting our characters in surprising ways and appearing at surprising moments. And it really was about the characters first and foremost, and the monsters just sort of kind of kept getting in the way of these emotional stories and then affecting them.
And super quickly before we wrap up, last question. Was there an element, you mentioned at the beginning, all these elements, was there one that you were like, wow, this is really cool? Like, did you like the stunts the most? Did you like how everything looked? Like, what did you like very quickly the most when working on this? If you could pick one thing quickly.
I mean, there's so many things, but I think probably just going to Tokyo, shooting in Tokyo, visiting Toho Studios, being there in the birthplace of Godzilla, a character I've loved since I was a kid, getting to shoot scenes on the streets of Tokyo with people running, from the Godzilla alarm. It felt like we were making a Toho film, that we were there. And that also the authenticity of that, being able to sort of travel all over the globe, to be on glaciers and deserts and jungles in Hawaii and in Tokyo. I mean, I think that's such a part of the scope of the show, the vision of the show.
Absolutely. And Monarch Legacy Monsters premiering November 17th on Apple TV Plus. I can't wait for people to see it. Matt, it was an honor and privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.